Welcome to Friday Night Football on the Football New South Wales YouTube page. Thanks for choosing this game because the commentator for the other game is not very good. I'm Eric Cibiano on the mic from the Illington Sports Centre, etc., etc. So bad. It's so, venues within an hour of Cromer, it's like NTRA, which is also not as close as people think, Arctic, and somewhat surprisingly, Lambert Park and Majors Bay, oddly enough. That's unexpected.
Only Inter had a team that was actually good enough to get women's national round there.
Inter had one very watchable game. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh wait, I shouldn't. I don't think so.
That stall's down there.
Oh, there's no light. Also need.
Mana got beaten to it, so.
One of the refs is right, so I hope they're all right. Also, I didn't actually look at it properly because I didn't get this game originally. Do you have any other games this weekend, Kate?
No, just the top.
You will be Palace adjacent?
Yeah.
Sunday? Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Do you have any tomorrow?
Yes. Christie Park tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
And North Taramara, which if you haven't been to North
where's that?
Taramara, good for you. You're so lucky. No cover or power.
Oh, that's fun. It's supposed to rain?
No.
No, okay.
So, that's not the point. Oh, and the filming position isn't in the center of the field either.
Okay.
And it has very little elevation. So.
Nice.
That's always bad when it's not centered.
It's all... Okay. Got midweek as well. Who's got the longest name here? Whatever. Hey. Oh wait. Both Jaden Sito and Justin Poon are starting, so I can't fuck up what we did last time.
I mean, you can try.
That was. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but imagine the complaints. Does this guy think all ages look the same? And Stab like, look, listen here. His nickname.
In reply, Stab just sends a picture of you.
His nickname is the Filipino Flyer. Now go away. Daniel. Axford. Oh god. God. Am I confident to guess a formation? Good god, no. Oh god, I don't know. Wait. Danaskos, Sito, Poon, no, Rodic. Oh, who's the other centre back? Danaskos, Sito, Rodic. Nah, I can't. Nah, I'm not good enough. Who's Thomas Brown? Okay, yeah, but I can't do that.
Never a good idea when you're going. Who is said person?
Who are you? Troy Danaskos, skipper. Pat O'Shea. Scored against Manly. Boo! Futsal superstar Connor Quilligan.
No. Van Leering?
Is he not? Fuck, I already pre-wrote his name. Damn it. Fuck, I'll have to see who's actually there. And no girls or snow party. Good. Harry Jones. Yeah. Oh man, I need a minus helmet for here. Are your eyes okay? Because mine aren't. Thomas Brown. Rodic. Former Blacktown City player Mark Rodic. Evangelos Souris. No, he's the one who scored the winner at Barton Park. Evangelos Souris. Jaden. Oh, that Jaden reference last time, that was very fun. That was so good. Your face is like, how is this possible? Like, because she's always relevant, that's why. If Tori Tumith isn't relevant, you're having the wrong conversation. Jaden Cito, Justin Poon. I told you about Samuel Contestabile, right? Yeah. Yes, he started a business called Contestability Performance Analysis because his last name is Contestabile. Yeah. Back because they used to do goal roundups of the games they film for their clients before that was put a stop to. So listen here, buddy.
Before they got a polite email.
Well, I mean, ooh, maybe it wasn't part of it. Oh, actually, no. Actually, you know what would have stopped is the deal with Sportscast. Because back when it was spot on video, I don't think it was. Yeah. I reckon they were allowed to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. Tyler Williams, Joseph Karsic. Oscar Fryer. Oh dear. Lachlan Middleton, Krolko's. No! Fuck. CC Striker's own Lachlan Middleton. Can't get that wrong. Borkham Hills legend, Tiago Gintal. Krolko's own there, Jacob Brissett. Skipper Will Kennedy. Wataru Kamijo, so he'll be DM, I just don't know where. 33, Matisse McAllister. So we reckon it's Fondike taking charge for Dylan's son. Maleen Zolderberg, Blake Bolwell. I got a drum. Hey. So they got a drums. Good thing they're not in the same leagues in the PM, huh? Yeah. Wait, who we got? Who we? Fuck, it's not Jimmy. Damn it. Well, I've already fucked that up. No, we'll see. Backup keeper will be Mason Hart. Oh yeah, Davies, look at my jersey.
Nice.
He must never be forgotten. Noah Matthew. I have no idea who these be. Dylan Rose, who may be related to Liam. So I think he has the same. I think he has the same junior club. Bailey Callahan. Pearson Kasawaya, so left back. Kasawaya. Alukmo. Jose Bello Amigo. He's the goalkeeping coach. Oh god, who's your backup keeper? Sam Smith. Samuel Smith. Oh no, so it should be Sam Smith. Because it's not Aiden O'Shea, and it's definitely not any of the others. God. Oh, they know when you're ready. Caio de Godoy. Fuck. It's a name I can't spell for some reason. So some pronounced Caio de Godoy. I should probably pronounce it. Actually. therefore he's the coach. That's fine. If I'm wrong,
I'm good to go when you are.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for starting your weekend with us here on the Football New South Wales YouTube page. Round 18 NPL Men's New South Wales action from Rockdale at the Illington Sports Centre, and a battle between two teams who share this venue, Sydney FC versus St George FC. Eric Subihano here with the commentary. We hope you've stayed warm and dry over the week. It's been some challenging weather, but it looks to have cleared up just in time, and it looks like we'll get our Friday night underway with another thrilling contest in the league that continues to thrill the spectators. For Sydney FC, as their long search for a weight goes on, they're hoping to use, well, they can't use home field advantage really this time around, because as I said, St George FC also calling Illington Sports Centre their home, as both teams have done for the last few seasons. They have some of Australia's best young talent. They generally threaten the score sheet, and so the young Sky Blues certainly in with a great chance of getting a positive result this evening. While for St George FC, they were in some really good form, and as they look to secure a top half finish in their first season back in the top tier of New South Wales men's football. They did suffer defeat last time out to the team some people call the pride of Western Sydney, Blacktown City, but certainly no shame in that. It's usual kits for both, the sky blue jerseys for Sydney FC, hence the hashtag Sydney is sky blue, and it's also traditional colours for St George FC, the red jerseys, the white shorts, and the green socks. So it looks like we're just about ready to get underway. Yep, there's the whistle from the referee, Eric Saba. Away we go. St George FC, the away team in the most nominal of ways this evening, going from right to left as we see things in the first half. It's the captain, Troy Danaskos, with an early throw-in. Forwards played back to Thomas Brown, centre of defence, then to Rodich. We'll go through the two lineups, or the two starting lineups. Firstly for Sydney FC, in goal number 40, Alexander Zavadinos. Then number 3, Tyler Williams. Number 4, Joseph Kalisic. Number 7, Oscar Fryer. Number 8, Lachlan Middleton. Number 10, Tiago Quintal. Number 13, Jacob Brissett. Number 22, tonight's Sky Blue captain, Will Kennedy. Number 24, Wataru Kamijo. Number 33, Mateus McAllister. And number 34, Blake Bolwell. And the usual academy first grade head coach for Sydney FC, Jimmy Van Buren, not appearing in dribble tonight. So presumably he's a very busy man. He's occupied with other duties, and it looks like Howard Fondike is taking charge of first grade matters for the young Sky Blues this evening. It's a very nice evening. We're very thankful that the rain has stopped. Of course, our thoughts are with people in the outer reaches of Sydney who may be threatened by rising river levels, especially in the Hawkesbury and MacArthur areas. That's Peter Grozos playing it back, I think, to Cito, and Cito first time to the captain. It was Danaskos, and then Connor Quilligan tried to reward that ball. Oh, the run, because Troy Danaskos made the first of what will be several overlapping runs this season, or this evening, my apologies, but Sydney keeping their shape in defence. Now, the St George FC lineup on the ball right now, just playing that pass, is the keeper, number 20, Daniel Axford. There's also number 3, as I said, the captain, Troy Danaskos. Number 6, Patrick O'Shea. Number 8, Connor Quilligan. Number 9, Peter Grozos.
Number 10, Harry Jones. Number 17, Thomas Brown. Number 18, Mark Rodich. Number 23, Evangelos. Number 27, Jaden Cito. And number 30, Justin Poon. Clean tackle there, stopping the run from Brissett. Now Harry Jones, for the team affectionately known as the Saints. Quilligan gets it on the turn, play it out wide, a little bit of an underhit pass. And now St. George in possession. It's going to be an early free kick. Grozos too quick for the opponents. He's drawn the contact. Of course, there is another game going on. Would have had the same kickoff time as this one up on the northern beaches at Cromer Park, where Manly United are facing the defending premiers RPL Leichhardt. Now, good ball to Danaskos. Is he quick enough to keep it in play? No, he's not. Yes. And when I say Manly United hosting the defending premiers RPL Leichhardt, actually the exact same thing when I called the women's game between those two last weekend. But this time it's the RPL men's team, hoping to draw inspiration from Ashley Crofts, the leading scorer for the women's team. Trying to find, and the team from the Inner West trying to find goals up on the northern beaches this evening. We'll try and keep you updated. With the other game, we do love to go around the grounds here on the Football New South Wales YouTube page. As Quintal does better than well to keep it in play. And Quintal then could have had a shot. So I think he might even have changed his mind at the last moment to pass. Ball scrambled away. Now, Williams and Bolwell. Oscar Fryer getting away from Danaskos for a second. It's a good switch of play. Will Kennedy's already providing the supporting run. And here's the cross. That's a good stooping header from Thomas Brown. And for Kalasic, doing well, stopping that St. George attack really before it gets going. Quintal again. And he's into the box. Quintal runs into a block tackle. Tiago Quintal, a man who's already received Australian Youth Honours, and the Borkham Hills Junior, certainly a young man that the Hillshire can be proud of. Looks like he'll be a key attacking weapon for Sydney FC this evening. With that brief flurry, 5 minutes played, still goalless between Sydney and St. George FC. As the two teams taking a little bit of a breather. Imagine, especially with the synthetic surfaces that are common in both the NPL men's and women's competitions, the play won't be slowed down for too long. Play on, according to Eric Saba. Now, Danaskos finding space again. He's done that a couple of times already. Connor Quilligan. It's gone direct. It's going to swing out towards Justin Poon. Evangelos plays it into the middle. There's the header to the edge of the box. And Lachlan Milton, well, it's not cleared by Kennedy. So, St. George FC, second chance. Quilligan, decent first touch. And he shoots. It breaks for Danaskos. He shoots and it's in. Troy Danaskos with a shot that was too hot to handle, literally. The St. George captain opens the scoring. 7th minute. Sydney FC 0, St. George FC 1. Sometimes you go for placement. This time, Danaskos decided, why not just hit it as hard as I possibly can? And it's paid dividends. St. George FC with an early goal. And Troy Danaskos, not the first time he's been on the score sheet in the 2024 season, continuing this brilliant run that he's had. Certainly at least over the past 2 seasons. He did captain St. George FC to promotion from League One Men's in 2023. And now, after spending quite a bit of time out of the top tier of New South Wales football, Danaskos showing that he definitely has what it takes to play at this level. Early cross from Quintal and dealt with at the near post end. Is that going to go? And it is. Well, it was an almost impossible angle, but somehow Sydney FC have scored. capitalizing from Thomas Brown, not completing the clearance. The ball had just stayed in play. And there you go. They say the most dangerous time for a team is after they've just scored. Sydney FC have proven that. It is a very, very nice equalizer. Yes. From the man in the green boots, Mateus McAllister. That is a finish that his father Dylan would be proud of. And the Avalon Junior has drawn Sydney FC level in a flash. Will that be the last time I make a Northern Beaches Junior Club reference tonight? Absolutely not. Anyway, Evangelosaurus. Well, there we go. We hope those 2 early goals have solidified your decision. Stay with us here at Illingdon Sports Centre. Sydney FC 1, St George FC 1. Mateus McAllister scored in the under-20s game last weekend, although Sydney FC were defeated 2-1 by Manly United in under-20s 7 days ago. He's rewarded the coaching staff's decision with an early goal. Sydney FC not behind for long, and despite their position on the table in recent times, it's not been often that Sydney FC have been kept scoreless. No clean sheet for St George FC this evening. There's McAllister, this time a little bit too physical, according to the referee Eric Saba. By the way, 2 sets of substitutes for Sydney FC. The backup keeper is Mason Hartnig. And the other bench options for Howard Thorndike are Noah Matthey, Dylan Rose, Bailey Callahan, Pearson Kasawaya, and Ayub Mo. I think, in particular, the 3 of those we're most likely to see are Callahan, Kasawaya, and Mo. Both 3 quick players. Kasawaya left back whenever I've seen him, but he does generally, when he's included in the matchday squad, get at least some game time. For Sydney in first grade, Callahan and Mo attacking options. And I feel like there's a good chance we'll see those 2 at some point. For St George FC, their coach, Yanni Talchevsky, he can choose from the backup keeper, Samuel Smith, as well as Kayo Degadoy, Jesse Spang, Anthony Morabito, Alexander Malfara, and Aidan O'Shea. Dummy from Peter Grossos to open it up for Danaskos. That's an excellent tackle from Tyler Williams. Now Fryer not allowed to run at the St George defence, and slightly awkward one. Back to Daniel Laxford. And his feet are quick enough to clear that. Kalisic threads one through, but it's stopped by the Saints. Sydney on the move again. This is Blake Bolwell. Oscar Fryer. Quintal. Now, positive first touch. The Sky Blues wanted a handball, but will go on. Well, I think that's Jaden Sito, the strong tackle. And then the decision goes against Sydney FC and against Wataru Kamito. As tonight's Football News South Wales reporter Justin Davies seemed a little bit amused by some language that he heard from one of the spectators. It's not said in judgment. I am also easily amused. Don't worry, Justin. Grossos finding himself deeper for the time being, but Peter Grossos, great attacking talent. Presume he won't spend too much time this evening level with the defenders. Danaskos is high again on the left-hand side, so that's where it goes. Picked out by Sito. Little heel chop. And Quilligan plays it to Grossos. The curler, and Sydney FC have enough bodies in the box to deal with it. The way that goes. Oh, time flies when you're having fun. We're already in the second half of the season, round 18 of 30. Can you believe that? Feels like yesterday that I was calling the early season games in some very warm weather. But now, as you can see, possibly from the puffer jackets around the venue at Illington Sports Centre, we're definitely in the middle of winter. Grozos will get to the edge of the box. And the square ball, Connor Quilligan crowded out. So Lachlan Middleton played. Brissett waited for the support, and that will be a free kick. So the rest of NPL Men's New South Wales action for this round 18. There's 4 games tomorrow, and the action starts at Seymour Shore with the 4:30 p.m. game between Sutherland Sharks and Blacktown City. And then at 5:30 p.m. tomorrow from the Arctic Circle, it's Northwest Sydney Spirit versus Marconi Stallions. That's called by the Adonis Will Gotsis. Then at 7 p.m. tomorrow, I'm looking forward to this one. Hills United versus Central Coast Mariners from Landon Stadium, called by one of the real emerging talents of the Football New South Wales media team, Dominic Crenini. He's already got a lot of writing experience, has young Dominic with Football New South Wales. Great to see him getting a go with commentary. And then at 7:15 p.m. tomorrow, St George City versus Wollongong Wolves. 2 NPL men's games on the Sunday. 3 p.m. at this venue, Rockdale Illington versus Western Sydney Wanderers. And also at 3 p.m., Sydney United 58 versus Sydney Olympic. That will also be called by the highly talented Dominic Crenini. He did message me, I think, today or yesterday, 2 games in a weekend. Now I know what it feels like to be you, Eric. And I'm like, yeah, correct. That is what it's like for me most weekends. For what it's worth, I will be calling a women's game tomorrow at the Arctic Circle, 3 p.m. between Northwest Sydney Spirit and Blacktown Spartans. And then on Sunday, I have another women's game at North Turramurra Recreation Area, 4 p.m. between Northern Tigers and Sydney Olympic. And I would have had a game last night at Valentine Sports Park between Football New South Wales Institute and Illawarra Stingrays, but that was washed out, unfortunately. It's amazing how washouts follow Illawarra Stingrays, whether they're the home team or the away team. Just them along with Sydney Olympic. Those two are the washout twins in the NPL women's competition. But anyway, here's Justin Poon. I think that's Patrick O'Shea. Now Cito and Danaskos. Howard Fondike shouting out the instructions, and Peter Grozos rides the challenge. Now here's Troy Danaskos, low across the box. Sky blue jerseys in the way. Souris reaching out the heel to try and keep it alive, and that's brilliant from Cito. Not just not allowing Tiago Quintal to turn, but also winning the throw-in for St George. In the box it goes again, and I'm not sure who got the final touch. Whoever it was. Actually, a well-timed run from Justin Poon, running in from the far side to the center of the 6-yard box. He was convinced it was going to be a corner. It was not. Shout out to David, who's tuning in, and double screening. We love to see that. He's tuning into this and Manly versus Apia at the same time. David, a big supporter of the Football New South Wales streams. And Sydney played out from the back. Here's Brissett, who's surrounded by red and white, still found the pass. Now Sydney working the other side with Blake Baldwell to Fryer. Danaskos got his foot in there. Now Kalasic stepping out from central defence. I think that's Kennedy. Back to Kalasic. Now Brissett and Camijo. largely unthreatening, although now Sydney trying to press high. St George back to the keeper, Axford. And it's a strong header from Blake Bolwell. Not letting Grozos have anything there. By the way, speaking of shout-outs, shout-out to one of my favourite commentators, the voice of Central Coast football, Pete Pryor. He's tuning in as well. A man who's really become synonymous with Football New South Wales streams from Plume Park. I certainly hope Pete and anyone else from our media team who's tuned in is enjoying this. Cross from Grozos. Up into the air. And who does it fall for? McAllister trying to secure the ball. And now Kalasic. Oh, well, the bounce did Grozos. Oh, sorry, my apologies, not Grozos, did Tiago Quintal there. Yes. There we go. Okay, well, I might have committed myself to all these shout-outs. Shout-out to the Adonis, Will Gotsis, tuning in as well. How many of these will I have to do? Well, I don't. I love doing shout-outs, so I don't really care. But here's Jacob Brissett. Fryer. And foot in there for St George. Oh, that's a line that deserves repeating from Justin Davies. I don't think I might pick that up, but we'll wait and see how this St George attack plays out. Well, hesitation from Zavadinos, then didn't get it out of danger with the punch. It was a really awkward one. And then, oh, well, let's see. That's gone St George's way, and we think we'll need to check on Troy Danaskos' welfare there. That can be very nasty. When you fall like that, he's gotten up, so that's great. We don't need to see the St George physio on at all. Set piece time coming up, and I think that's Harry Jones to deliver. Everyone back for Sydney. He signals. Aims far post and good header. And then on the turn, that is Mark Rodich sending it into the synthetic warm-up area behind Sydney's goal. Danaskos clearing, goes beyond Kalasic, easy header back to Zavadinos. Camijo, I think just going for distance, cushioned well by Cito. And then Peter Grozos, good use of the body. That'll be a free kick despite the show of frustration from Camijo. Danaskos trying to get on with it. Great switch of play. Pinpoint to Justin Poon. That's a giant throw. I think that's Will Kennedy. I saw that last week when I called Manly United versus Sydney FC as Kennedy launches one again. Decent attacking weapon if they get a throw in near the penalty area on that side of the field. I mean, actually, with the distance he's shown there, might be worth just having him take all attacking throw-ins, to be honest. Grozos. That's an excellent sliding tackle from the Sydney number 4, Joseph Kalasic. Howard Fondike yells out the instructions. Of course, the prime aim for Sydney FC player development. And love the results as well, of course. Especially as they try to get out of that bottom 2. It's been the race to stay out of the bottom 2. Oh, for me, as interesting as the Premiership race. It's good to have a league with action at both ends of the table. Now, Danaskos, does he keep it in play? No, he does not. Flags up. Anyway, going around the grounds, it's goalless at Cromer Park. 0-0 between Manly United and Apia Leichhardt. Zavadinos going into opposition territory. It's an excellent header, I think, from Brown. Now the bounce. Favored Rodic. So Danaskos going long. It's a great first touch from Connor Quilligan. We could see a bit of a shirt pull. Eric Saba not interested in any kind of decision. And Saba not interested in a decision there either. He's trying to let the game flow. The brief time I spent chatting with refs, I think generally speaking this is what the NPL New South Wales refs prefer. They want to let it flow as long as they possibly can, with cards really being a last resort. Interesting down the far side of St. George. Quilligan tried to shield the ball against 2 defenders. Said it's half cleared. O'Shea and the forward pass. Now I think that's Jones. Jones towards Quilligan. And who'd that come off last? St. George, so goal kick. Another long goal kick from Zavadinos. And another good header from Thomas Brown. Kalasic sends it back over his head. I think that was Lachlan Middleton. Fryer looking to play the 1-2. Danaskos broke it up. Fryer going to set after this one. There's good positioning from Jaden Sito. He read the play well. Goes back to the keeper. Good battling there from Souris. Slips that one past Quintal. Jaden Sito getting the ball away. These periods of the games can be very important. Might be seem a little bit scrappy to some of the viewers, but it's important to win your battles out there and kind of get a foothold wherever you can. Now that is going to be a Sydney FC attacking set piece. Not the throw-in I speculated about earlier as a St. George play goes into the notebook. I'm looking for you, Justin, don't worry. 17. Thomas Brown? Yeah. So, Thomas Brown, first player into the notebook for either side. And that is set piece opportunity. livened up the Sydney fans behind the ground. Everyone back for St. George. Two-player wall. It's up towards the back post, and Danaskos doesn't really clear it. And it's a big slice of the ball from Blake Bolwell, so nothing to threaten Daniel Axford. Cito dodging the high press by going back to the keeper. Quintal will continue to work hard off the ball. It's a backwards touch that St. George, well, that would have made the Saints fans nervous. Brown found Rodic anyway. Now they've beaten the first part of the Sydney press. And Poon runs into a little bit of trouble. Sydney's turn to go back to the keeper. Zavadinos, perhaps not quite the contact he wanted. It's a nice first touch. And the handball call. It goes Sydney's way. By the way, I've already mentioned tonight's referee, Eric Saba, so pretty much have to give a shout out to the other officials as well. Can't just shout out the ref because he's got the same name as me. So the assistant nearest to us is Matthew Harris. The assistant on the grandstand side, Alexis Johnson. And tonight's fourth official, Blake Sanchez-Cruz. As Karlasic gets back underway. Another header from Danaskos. And Grozos didn't keep it in. Cito's in the way again. The number 27 having a decent game so far. And that also goes Sydney's way. I mean, I'm no coach. If this was me, I'd be sending Will Kennedy over to this. I'm just having him do his best Megan Campbell impersonation and launch it as far as he can. Alas, I will not get what I want. Instead, it's Blake Bolwell. That's pretty decent distance on that. Loops up, headed away, and then Grozos with the air swing. So perhaps Sydney with a chance to keep the pressure on, but as I say that, St. George tried to break, and that's an excellent sliding tackle from Lachlan Middleton. Now Brissett. And Brissett can't get round Rodic. Well, that's promising, and the long-range effort is pushed wide by Axford. It was McAllister, Sydney's goal scorer for this evening. Like all good goal scorers, didn't hesitate when the chance presented itself. And we will have our first corner of this evening. By the way, yes, in case you're wondering, yes, that is Dylan McAllister's son. Dylan McAllister, former Australian Youth International. How's my memory? Played for Central Coast Mariners, played for Wellington Phoenix. Look him up on Wikipedia to see what I missed. As the corner comes in, Jones heads away. Now, long-range effort is decent. That's another save from Axford. Two strong hands to prevent Tyler Williams from scoring. That has really livened up the Sky Blue fans. Quick corner. They're doing something different this time. Swung in and away. Something I've noticed with these attacking set pieces, and a challenge that often faces the A-League Academy sides, St. George FC they would appear to have the height advantage, especially with Thomas Brown as one of their central defenders. They could also bring Quilligan and Harry Jones back for set pieces. Mark Rodic is pretty good in the air, so is Pat O'Shea. As Will Kennedy launches another Rory Delap-esque long throw. A little chuckle from Justin Davies as he realizes he's in for a long night of Irish people being crowbarred into the commentary. Yes. Fryer outside of the foot pass. Big overlapping run from Bolwell. A decent ball. Thomas Brown with a very, very comprehensive clearance. Shout out to that spectator who's getting that, because it looked like it ended up somewhere in the trees. Oh, another shout out. Shout out to the man behind College Matildas, Lockie France. He's tuning in. Dylan McAllister also played for Brand in Norway. Thanks, Lucky. Corner comes in. Now, first time effort. Miss hit. Camijo now does this break for Sydney. Quintal, quick feet. Oh, that's brilliant from Quintal. Beat 3 defenders, I think, but not the 4th. And one of the Hillshire's finest razzlers almost pulled off the improbable and got a shot away from that position. Ooh, that's lovely stuff from Grozos. Commentator's curse. That never goes away. I talk Peter Grozos up and he immediately gives the ball away. I'm sorry, everyone. You're right, I'm not sorry. He gave the ball away. Now, Brissett. Blake Bolwell. And he gets the shouts from Quintal. And it was a rare loss of footing there from Quintal. That's what gave Danaskos the chance to steal it. Then Middleton stealing possession back. Quintal has a couple of runners. Looking for Fryer. And Danaskos, oh, that's great shepherding. Shepherding that any central defender would be proud of. Welcome to that point about Dylan McAllister. That's the other thing. The other thought I had when I saw Mateus McAllister's name on the team sheet. Dylan McAllister's kid is old enough to play first grade. My God, we're all getting old. Oh, dear. Also, shout out to Mateus's younger sister, Malene McAllister, who's in the Girls' Youth League setup at Manly United. Quintal on another run. Great drop of the shoulder now. McAllister could be in. Bravery from Axford, as I think the flag it stayed down from Matthew Harris. Brilliant from Quintal, surrounded by 3 defenders. And a little drop of the shoulder, as I've noticed the fog is starting to come in. The fog that Will Gotts has warned me about. The second half could be fun. If you're familiar with my commentary, you know exactly what's going to happen in the second half. If I can't see something, I'm just going to make it up. I think we're going to stop this because McAllister's feeling very sore. Yep, the physio is going to come on. I think McAllister's already starting to get up, so we hope it's nothing too bad. But if you've just joined us, 1-1. It's 1-1 here between Sydney FC and St George FC. Thanks for tuning in and enjoying your Friday night with us on the Football New South Wales YouTube page. And it's St George FC's captain, Troy Danaskos, opened the scoring in the 7th minute with a very powerful shot that hit the palms of Sydney keeper Alexander Zavadinos on the way into the net. But I think less than 90 seconds later, Sydney FC equalised through Mateus McAllister. Thomas Brown. In the diagonal. It's left for Danaskos. Now Quilligan has it. Peter Grozos. Now Quilligan. Oh, great invention to find Danaskos, but the flag is up from Alexis Johnson. Great footwork there from Connor Quilligan. Will not surprise you to learn that he is a futsal player. Shout out to all the fine folk at Mascot Vipers Futsal Club. Actually, news of importance to Justin Davies and I, the Futsal Premier League schedule came out like about a week or so ago. So now Justin and I can start planning our summers. As Sito plays it out to Danaskos. Now, back to Brown. It's a good ball. Out to Quilligan. I better see these players on the near side as much as possible in the remainder of the first half, because I won't be able to see them in the second half. Now, Will Kennedy got the shout from Quintal. Quintal, decent effort, and it's swings less than a yard or so past that far post. Had Axford at full strength. Quintal very obviously left-footed, but he tried the right foot this time, and he wasn't too far away. Saints setting up to go short from the goal kick. That's how they do it. Sydney FC standing off for now. Looks like they'll let the centre backs have it. As soon as it goes to someone else, they'll start pressing. Brown trying another diagonal. It's up. Gets away from Quilligan. Now Williams. And then Kalasic for Sydney. Well, that's a decent run from Brissett. Now through to McAllister, who's looks to be okay after that knock. Good to see. And now Souris. And St. George's C have it. O'Shea can't beat the sky blue jersey, and then I think none of the runs wanted by the ball carrier, so it's a goal kick. Of course, a brief shout out to the women's action this weekend on the Football New South Wales YouTube page. As I said earlier, I'll be at the Arctic Circle tomorrow, 3 p.m, to call Northwest Sydney Spirit versus Blacktown Spartans. Then the other 6 NPL women's games are on Sunday at 4 p.m. I'll be at North Turramurra to call Northern Tigers versus Sydney Olympic. And Sunday, 4:30 p.m, is the first women's game back at Lambert Park. And that's a massive one as well. The match of the round between league-leading Apia Leichhardt and Gladesville Ravens. So, of course, if it's a women's match of the round, it deserves no less than the Serbian Martin Tyler, Nicola Posder on comms. 4:45 p.m. on Sunday, Football New South Wales Institute versus Bulls FC Academy. 2 games, 5 p.m. on Sunday, Sydney University versus MacArthur Rams from the Sydney Uni ground called by Will Constantinidis. And also 5 p.m. on Sunday, Emerging Jets versus the University of New South Wales. Or as Justin Davies and I might call it, the Tiana Robertson Rumble. But anyway, Jets versus UNSW called by Ashley Borg. And Monday, 5:15 p.m. on the public holiday Monday at Sir Ian McLennan Oval, it's Illawarra Stingrays versus Manly United. Also shout out to the League One Women's Match of the Round, 3 p.m. on Sunday from, I think, one of the back synthetic fields at the Palace Marconi Stadium. Marconi Stallions versus South Coast Flame, called by one of my favorite commentators, the Professor Melissa Muscat. Now, oh, decision's gone against Sydney there. I'll take your word for I'll take your word for Justin. Danaskos. Back to Brown. No, sorry. That's Pat O'Shea's dropped between the central defenders for the time being. He hasn't drawn out a player with him, though, so Sydney staying in that defensive shape. The 2 banks of 4, and then McAllister, Quintal in front of those 2 banks of 4. As a good tackle from Cito. Brissett. A very inverted left winger at the moment. Inverting so much he's almost on the other side of the field. Now, Fryer. As Oscar Fryer tries to turn the heat up, finds room for a crossing opportunity. It's a great ball, and then, well, it gone out of play? Sorry, I'm getting old, Justin. What happened there? Because
I think they called handball.
Handball, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, bit high. Yeah, that's fair. McAllister with the acrobatics. Maybe next time he might have tried his left foot, because it seemed very awkward for him to score the way he wanted to score. But, I mean, not that I have the technique or the athleticism to criticize any player at, well, really any level. The old FIFA backheader. Oh, by the way, that line Justin Davies said earlier about my commentary, more shout-outs than an Academy Awards acceptance speech. That's what I'm aiming for. If you're tuning in and you could message me via some platform, let me know. Yes. Camijo. Now Middleton. Middleton out wide to Brissett. And Brissett, it's a decent tackle, but here's Camijo, blocked. The world's most optimistic handball shout from the Sydney FC fans there. That was as optimistic as the last time I asked someone out on a date. Come on, man. Have some shame. Anyway. Still 0-0 at Cromer Park. Near the end of first half regulation time. I must remember to look at the fourth official for once. I always forget to do it somehow, although I think, yeah, I did see that Blake Sanchez Cruz looks to have already gotten the signal. Looks to be the customary minimum of 60 seconds time added on to end the first period. And Alexander Zavadina showing absolutely no urgency in getting to that ball, so it's like the young man's happy with the scoreline, which is fair enough considering they as in Sydney, conceded the opening goal, and Mateus McAllister's quick response is how we got to the scoreline that we have. Quilligan almost off the chest, back to Jones, and then Will Kennedy. Big shouts there, but Eric Saba said, there's nothing wrong with that. We'll go on to Brissett. Wait, did someone make a reference to a Brexit tackle? Oh, I can't remember where I was. You might remember this, Justin. I was at a game and kids were shouting for Brexit tackles. I was thinking, you're not old enough to know what that actually means. Anyway, there's Blake Sanchez Cruz signaling a minute of time added on. Oh yeah, that's okay. Apia versus Marconi. The first competitive game back at Lambert Park after they redid the surface. But the surface looks excellent, by the way. But SAP age kids. I just want a SAP age kid to explain Brexit to me. Just want to see what happens. Anyway, here's Jones, Quilligan, outnumbered by Sky Blue. Safety first clearance over the sideline. And the Saints are going to have to hurry if they want a shot because there's not much time remaining. If this goes backwards, well, we know what... Yeah, there we go. Okay. Might as well think about what I'm going to say when Eric Saba blows the whistle because he's already glanced at his watch. Grozos floating it in. And the header, Zavadinos catches it. There we go. There's the whistle for halftime. It's all square as the teams head into the dressing sheds. Sydney FC 1, St George FC 1. It was the Saints who opened the scoring by a thunderous shot from their captain, Troy Danaskos, and the equalizer. That was in the 7th minute, and the equalizer came about 90 seconds later, I think. Yeah. Mateus McAllister scoring from an almost impossible angle to level the scores, and a goal that would make his father, Dylan, proud. This is Eric Subihano on the mic from the Illingdon Sports Centre. We'll take a short break of about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll be back for the second half. I was right. Welcome back to the second half of Football New South Wales coverage from Illington Sports Centre of the NPL Men's New South Wales competition for the 2024 season. It's 1-1 between Sydney FC and St George FC as we are about to be prepared to get underway for the second period. There's the whistle from Eric Saba. Away we go. St George FC have made a change at half-time, very unusually for me. I actually know what it was within 15 minutes of a half-time change happening. So for St George FC, number 22, Aidan O'Shea, is on. He's replacing number 10, Harry Jones. Trust me, I'm as shocked as you are that I've got that right. Is this why I don't get more NPL men's games? Yeah, probably. Anyway. Because we have a fourth official, we trust that the excellent fourth official, Blake Sanchez-Cruz, has just forgotten to do a Sydney FC sub, so we would think that Sydney FC are as they were to begin this contest. Good header from Thomas Brown. He had a lot of good defensive headers in the first half. And then Pat O'Shea with a challenge that is subtle as some of my jokes. Free kick to Sydney FC. For the Sky Blues, just a refresher of the 11 that's out there. In goal, number 40, Alexander Zavadinos. Back four from left to right, number 22, the captain, Will Kennedy. Number 4, Joseph Kalisic. Number 3, Tyler Williams. And number 34, Blake Bolwell. In central midfield, number 8, Lachlan Middleton. Number 24, Watara Kamijo. On the wings, number 13, Jacob Brissett. And number 7, Oscar Fryer. And the two up front, number 10, Tiago Quintal. And number 33, Mateus McAllister. Here's Quintal. Long-range effort. Easy for Axford. So, yes, Justin, there is some optimism, but I've already used that joke tonight, so I can't do it again. Oh, if you want me to reuse jokes? Oh, wait, okay, I will. Watch this. Now, here's Thomas Brown. Mark Rodic. Justin Poon. Goes backwards. And we saw a lot of this in the first half as Sydney FC, perhaps understandable given recent results, kind of just sitting off when the ball's in this part of the field and they're out of possession before, as it gets closer to halfway, now they start to press. Peter Grozos trying to break that press. Connor Quilligan to Justin Poon. Thomas Brown to Rodic, and I think that's going to go back to the keeper. By the way, St George FC's lineup, actually, I'll just see where Aidan O'Shea is lining up. Yeah, it does appear to be a straight swap. He was a straight swap in midfield for Harry Jones at half-time as the flag goes up against Mateus McAllister. But yeah, for St George FC, in goal, number 20, Daniel Axford. Their back four from left to right. There's the captain, number 3, Troy Danaskos. Number 27, Jaden Cito. Number 17, Thomas Brown. And number 18, Mark Rodic. In midfield, number 6, Patrick O'Shea. Number 23, Evangelos Souris. And number 22, Aidan O'Shea. So that midfield getting progressively more and more Irish as the game goes on. Love to see it. And the St George FC front three, number 8, Connor Quilligan. He's flanked by number 9, Peter Grozos, and number 30, Justin Poon. Actually, I've got something wrong immediately. Looks like Aidan O'Shea's on the left wing and Peter Grozos playing more centrally. And that's actually, I like that move from Jane Talchevsky to get Grozos the younger more touches. There's a Blackadder reference for you. Very like Blackadder reference. Scene spilled up and once again allowed to do so. By Sydney FC. Yeah. Thomas Brown sends it up into the night sky and breaks for Connor Quilligan, who's got runners. Can't find said runner. In fact, that was Troy Danaskos getting very, very, very forward from the starting position of left back. Okay. In one of my group chats, the phrase shocker of a game and then an unsent message. Good God, what was the unsent message if the one that's left up there is shocker of a game? Okay. I'm trying to do my best Chris Kamara impersonation. And yes, sometimes that does involve not knowing what's happening at the game I'm watching, but I'd like to have some updates from Cromer Park. Rosas not getting the decision. Souris does get the decision. Opting for the grandstand side. Danaskos working it back to Jaden Seaton. Rodic. Rodic inside. Souris. Now, Aidan O'Shea hasn't given up on it. Quilligan has the open player. Danaskos. He shoots. It's about a yard or so, possibly 2 yards past the far post. I love an adjudication panel for that ironic cheer from the Sydney FC fans. I don't think that missed by enough to deserve an ironic cheer. It's like, yes, yeah, thumbs up from Justin Davies. He agrees. Yeah. These things got to have rules. Yeah, it was like, yeah, well, with yes, Justin. Without rules, society crumbles. Crumbles. The only lawless thing should be my commentary. Restart from St. George FC. By the way, shout out to tonight's camera operator, Kate, who has the patience of a saint and just has to stand there listening to this nonsense. If I keep this up, I mean, camera operators will start asking for hazard pay. It's Danaskos. Back to... Is that an O'Shea? One of them? Good ball. Whoever that was. Poon. He's kind of lacking a little bit of support, so it has to go backwards slightly with Rodic. Brown bounces it back off Souris. Cito. By the way, keep an eye out for the, as always, excellent match report for this game, provided by Justin Davies, that'll be up on the NPL New South Wales Facebook page later this evening. Justin has to think of the 3-2-1 votes as well, although I think they're hidden in the second part of the season, aren't they? So he still has to think about it, you just don't get to see them. Yes. Schrodinger's points. That's as much quantum physics as I understand. Rodic plays it back to Brown. And of course, the match report's going up very quickly. Kalasic with a foot in there, thanks to the, as always, excellent work from the man they call the Greek god of football New South Wales, Mark Stavroulakis. Does such a wonderful job keeping everything going during the NPL New South Wales season. A seemingly endless job. Also known as the Golden Greek. Is our fearless leader, Mark Stavroulakis. 2 nicknames he thoroughly deserves. Good run from Kennedy, and then not going to be in reach for Quintal, so Jaden Cito sweeps it up. Although Oscar Fryer, will he keep it in? And he's done well, Oscar Fryer. On the throw in near the corner flag. Alexis Johnson, the assistant over there, had the best view of Oscar Fryer's persistence and technique. Here he is again. Now Kennedy stayed forward after initiating that attack earlier. Brissett to the byline, decent cross, and it's just over head height for both attackers and defenders. Good intervention from Brissett. Now St. George trying to take it the other way. The ball stayed in, and no, it has not. It has not stayed in. Getting close to the time of the game when teams like to make subs. Howard Fondike can still make a maximum of 5 subs. Here's the players he can choose from tonight. Noah Matthew, Dylan Rose, Bailey Callahan, Pearson Kasawaya, Ayub Mole, and the backup keeper Mason Hartnig. Brissett trying once more right in front of that photographer. He crosses to the far post. Danaskos heads it across the goal. Brown heads it away. A lone cry of shoot. Kamijo does not heed shoot. I mean, to be fair, the ball didn't get to him quick enough for him to shoot. That's a decent ball. Axford doesn't claim it. The Sky Blues just beginning to turn the screw. As here's Kennedy, and it does a break for Quintalda. Flags up. Flags up. And a shout appearing to be dissent of offside from someone who is like 100 meters away and has the worst angle in the ground. Okay. Good Lord. Anyway. Yes. Anyway. The St. George FC subs. Jane Talchevsky can use a maximum of 4 now. He's already used, between now and the end of the game, having already used 1 at halftime. But he can choose from Alexander Malfara, Anthony Morabito, Jesse Spang, Kayo De Godoy, and the backup keeper, Samuel Smith. Grozos, a little bit of a shimmy. Pass intercepted by Kalasic. Brissett. And Brissett. Mark Rodic requesting that Brissett stay on his feet next time. I suppose that's the most politically correct. Yes, that... roughly those terms, more or less. Suppose for that instance we can be thankful we don't have the Nicholas Kudniak FX mic set up, because then all of you would have heard exactly what Mark Rodic said. We'd prefer that stuff like that. You didn't hear language like that. But Nicholas Kudniak with a very good mic setup, obviously. Just live sporting events and all that. Danaskos breaking that up. Poon preparing himself for the switcher play nearest to us. Signals for it. Pat O'Shea trying to find it. Kennedy, nice header back to Zabardinos. Sito's up. Quilligan's layoff doesn't work out. And Kalasic breaks it up. Brissett. Kalasic. St. George FC starting to press. Sydney FC quick enough to get out of it and just get this throw in opposition territory. Switch to Brissett. He's getting a lot of play in the second half. Or maybe just feels that way because he's on the nearest side to us. Great tackle from Rodic. He needs to run it out. He's found Quilligan. Quilligan playing the target forward. And then it's an interesting ball for Aidan O'Shea, but great starting position from Zavardinos. Sweeper keeping and preventing the attack. Now Fryer beats a challenge. He's got a few options with him. That's nice tackle from Patrick O'Shea. Starting to spread out the game a little bit. That's what we like as the media. Kennedy wrangles that back to the goalkeeper. Finds Middleton. Rosetta he thought of the switch, definitely, but opts for the safer pass. Kennedy finds Tyler Williams. Fryer. And attempted through ball to McAllister doesn't work out. Souris. Now there's yet another marauding run from Danaskos. Grozos looking for a pocket of space, which closes very quickly because of Brissett. Defends with as much gusto as he attacks. Now Kennedy. Now it's a familiar sight to long-time Sydney FC women's fans. Once again, you can see a Kennedy at the back for your team. Gets it back from Poon. I'm wondering. 2 early goals, but nothing since then. Might be the kind of game where a substitute makes the telling impact. Looks like Sydney are going to make their first 2 substitutions of the evening. I'll wait till the bibs come off so I can tell who is about to be introduced. There's a big run and a cutback. Doesn't find Grozos. There's Fryer. Sydney play it out. Lots of synthetic turf in front of Brissett. 2 with him, but St. George FC appear to have the favourable numbers. Middleton. Quintal. Quintal. He shoots, and it's off the inside of the post. Tiago Quintal with a shot that was almost as delicious as a Portuguese tart. Sydney FC inches away from taking the lead. Now Brissett runs it out of play. Davies, you can't give me a name like Tiago Quintal and expect me not to make Portuguese references. But, as I like saying, as exotic as he sounds, he's from Borkham Hills. Just love the juxtaposition, because like I lived in Borkham Hills for a long time, cannot remember meeting anyone with a Portuguese surname. So number 6 and number 16, that would be, well, 16 is Pearson Casabaya, 6 is Dylan Rose. He's coming on, so I think that's Wataru Kamijo, number 24 coming off. Also number 7, Oscar Ferrara. Oh no, I got another sub right? What's happening? Oh, I mean, I'll show you the real Eric in about. You'll see the silliness before this game's done, Justin. Right, so Casawaya, well, I said... well, I got something wrong. I talked about Casawaya being a left back. He's looks like he's gone into left wing, so... That would mean... If Casawaya's gone to left wing for Sydney, Jacob Brissett's gone to the right side. Dylan Rose would be a straight swap in central midfield, I believe, for Wataru Kamijo. Obviously, as an A-League academy, Sydney FC are quite young. Chatting to Jimmy Van Buren before their game last week against Manly United, he said generally he's working with an average age of something like 17. He's got players like Dylan Rose, whose talent is really blossoming. Good to see him being given a first-grade opportunity. Free kick to St. George FC. Dylan Rose showing a bit of thorns with that foul as well. Oh, I wish I could have worked that reference better. I'm sorry. No, that'll go back for offside against St. George. Now, Alex Malfara is getting ready to come on for St. George FC. That'll be the second sub. And Justin Poon, I think. Industrious shift on the right side of the St. George attack. He gets a bit of an early mark. Now so that'll bring Grozos to the right wing. Alex Malfara in his normal central midfield position. Both sides have now played 2 subs apiece and have 2 windows left. 2 substitution windows left as well. Important to remember, of course, you have 3 substitution windows, and you can also make subs at halftime. But 3 substitution windows in play, so to speak, because that's shepherded out for a goal kick. Important to remember the number of substitution windows, especially if you're the coach of Canberra United. I remember my group chat looking at my live score, I'm like, they've used more than the allowed number of windows. And then it didn't matter because they kept the points anyway. Brissett. Well, actually, no. So Brissett back on the left wing. So who's on the right wing? Tiago Quintal is now on the right wing. So for Sydney as attack, righty on the left, lefty on the right, inverted wingers coming up, and Pearson Casawaya. Okay, they're just rotating all over the place. I'll stop. I'm certainly no round ball analyst, which is a good thing for a number of reasons, but I think there might Sydney being quite fluid in attack as they try and earn what would be their first win since round 5 when they beat the Mariners 4-1 on this ground. the fog. It's here, but it's certainly no Benson's Lane level fog. As I've just given Justin Davies PTSD, but that's thankful at least. Does look like we'll have good visibility for the rest of the game. Here's Kasawaya. Kasawaya, and might break for Middleton. No, it does not. Excellent tackle. Quilligan. Now, Peter Grozos. Can he get the party started for St. George FC? That's a niche reference. I'll be impressed if even one listener gets that one. Shout out to Costa. Good run here, and cross is blocked, and more optimistic handball shouts, which Eric Saba just didn't even acknowledge. Now Danaskos swings it in from deep. Quilligan's attacking it, and just out of reach for Connor Quilligan. Now Rodic wants the decision and gets it. Another excellent tackle from Mark Rodic. And if you remember him, Mark Rodic with a lot of experience, if you remember him from his previous stints at Blacktown City, well, who would have thought that was the first club that would come to mind for me, but also Bonnyrigg White Eagles and Marconi Stallions. Rodic is an absolutely ferocious tackler, the kind of player everyone would love to have in their team. It's good to see Jacob Brissett is okay, no physio required, we'll go on. Sydney FC might be preparing another substitute. But for now, this St. George attack. Cutting inside, and Pearson Kasawaya, well, fullback-ish skills there, defending in a wide area. And now he's providing the supporting run. Quintal running across the field. Sydney going right to left. Now Brissett. He loves the one-on-one opportunity. Another great tackle from Rodic. Mark Rodic getting the encouragement from, I think that's Daniel Axford. Yes. I heard the sound of two gloves being patted together, so it couldn't have been anyone else. Seeing as there's no other player wearing gloves this evening, apart from obviously the opposite keeper, Alexander Zavadinos. Now Williams. Now Dylan Rose rides a challenge. Kasawaya, far side. In-swinger to the far post. That's a great header from Rodic, but didn't get the distance necessarily. His teammates help him out. Grozos rolls Kennedy, and then uncharacteristic for Grozos, bit of a breakdown in communication there. Ayuk Mo is going to be the third player to come on for the Young Sky Blues. Ayuk Mo on for Jacob Brissett. Speed for speed, that looks to be a straight swap. And no, this might loop over the keeper from a long way out. Actually, to be fair, Justin, probably not worth putting in your report. It was like an overhit cross, but not what Axford was expecting. Off target, though. Peter Grozos, pressured immediately by Kennedy. Great diagonal ball. Danaskos. Saunders. Now Aidan O'Shea. Danaskos. Looking to attack the space. Action now in front of those Sydney FC fans. And that drum. Cross comes in and makes its way all the way to the back post. And Grozos is stopped by a wonderful save from Zavadinos. That's why you get goalkeepers to work on their footwork. Zavadinos scrambled across his goal. Lateral agility was excellent. He's made a great save and kept the score at 1-1. Everyone back for Sydney FC to defend the set piece. I mean, by very manual, unofficial tallies, this is St. George's first corner of the evening. Aidan O'Shea is across to take this. Outswinger. And the header is claimed by Zavadinos. More straightforward stuff. He starts with a throw to Ayuk Mo. Kasawaya wants the switcher play. Stays far side with Quintal. Mo. That's Rose. And foot in there, and also St. George free kick. There's been a goal at Cromer Park, but for who? It's gone to the home side, Manly United. They're leading by a goal to nil thanks to the Hillshire zone, Connor Rose. That could be a big one in the context of the season for the team from the Northern Beaches. They beat RPL Leichhardt 4-0 last year when RPL went to Cromer Park. That was also quite a shock. Trust me, I was as shocked as anyone. They're leading. Manly United 1, RPL Leichhardt 0. And now, more than ever, RPS men's team needs the spirit of Ashley Crofts to get back into this one. Imagine that. Ashley Crofts scored in 5 consecutive visits to Cromer Park. It's incredible. Now, Saba's pulled things up. This will go Sydney FC's way. Is just going to lob it up into the mixer. Axford's up. Confident stuff. Defenders love it when keepers do stuff like that. It settles the nerves. Sydney, even a draw would be something to build on. As Rose brings it forward, their last point was back in round 10. Oh, lovely footwork from Quintal. Rose and now Mo. Mo, cross blocked. Corner kick. It's the night for between 1 and 3 people on the field shouting for handball. This happens so often. Corner kick coming up for Sydney. Yes, so Sydney's last point in round 10 against Sutherland. 0-0 draw in this ground, also their last clean sheet. 4 raised hands at the rock concert, that's good. Anyway, corner coming in. And at the far post, it's the finish. Matisse McAllister, I think, has done it again. The man in the green boots is leaving St. George FC green with envy because he scored twice. And from 1-0 down, Sydney FC leading by 2-1. He attacked the ball. The far post run, not matched by the defence. Sydney FC 2, St. George FC 1. It's been a long time between drinks for the Sydney FC Academy. They haven't won in quite some time. Now they are roughly 17 minutes plus stoppages away from recording 3 valuable points as they race to get out of the bottom 2. By the way, Justin, you know who also wears lime green boots and scores a lot of goals? Ashley Crofts! Hey! It's going to be a long 17 minutes for you, mate. Called. Souris was fouled, and St. George FC, well, Eric Saba is not happy with where they restarted it from. So take 2 for this set piece. Now looking at who St. George FC have in reserve. So Anthony Morabito, a club legend by this stage, has been at St. George FC for so long. He's got a lot of speed. Remember, we've watched St. George FC any decent amount down the years, you'll remember him running down the wing. Also, Jesse Spang is an attacking option. And we might see either or both of those two if Yane Chalche FC decides it's kitchen sink time. Now, as Quilligan holding it up against 3 Sky Blues, and the 3 Sky Blues win out. Be an interesting sub if Howard Thorndike decided to bring on Bailey Callahan for counterattacks, because St George FC will inevitably push higher and higher as they chase the game. Bailey Callahan's actually a pretty decent option to bring on for Sydney FC in the closing stages. Peter Grozos, round 1, faced up by 2 more, and he needed all 3 of those defenders to stop Grozos. Malfara, good in the 50-50 as always. And Rodic turns, but the only option is backwards to Thomas Brown. Yeah. Right on cue, Noah Matthew and Bailey Callahan gotten a shout from the Sydney technical area. Looks like we could see Sydney FC subs number 4 and 5 for tonight's game. That's instructions. No laminated folder though, so maybe it's not. Maybe they're not coming on just yet, because the laminated folder is the last thing usually that they get shown. Maybe with set piece instructions, but well, this is as close to an elite football environment as I'll ever get. I don't know what's in that. I don't know what's in those laminated sheets. I'm not repeating that. What do you? For anyone that remembers this shot of when Paul Ince was coaching, and he had one of those tactics whiteboards, but the only instruction on the tactics whiteboard was shoot. This word shoot written inside the penalty area. Yeah, that was an absolute waste of 10 seconds of listening if you have not seen this, by the way. Matthew's got the bib off in the technical area, but we go on with the Saints attack. Grozos. Quilligan digs it out. Malfara challenging, and in the end clawed away by Zavadinos, and no rebound that the Saints can profit from. He's made different types of saves. There was the one to deny Grozos, where he just had to sprint laterally across the goal line and then got down well to save. That one was a looping header from Malfara, and it was a strong right hand from Zavadinos to keep it out of the goal. Now, Will Kennedy feeling a bit sore, so the physio's on. Yes, I have noticed that this is what you might call game management time, but just noticed, I mean, it's not raining anymore, but this scaffold is not completely dry, so I just got to make sure my notes don't get wet. Or what passes for notes that I use. Noah Matthew and Bailey Callahan getting ready to come on. So Tiago Quintal, the Borkham Hills Jr., just like former Sydney FC winger Aidan Keane, by the way, but Tiago Quintal makes way to be replaced by Bailey Callahan. Another Irish surname on the field. Lovely. And I think Will Kennedy replaced by Noel Matthew. Looks to be 2 straight swaps. Left back for left back and forward for forward. St George FC will play the Sportingly back to Zavadinos. Rodic with the header. Malfara helping it on. Jesse Spang's about to come on for St George FC. Quite tall man, so should they need to go direct, he's a good option. And yeah, that's definitely not a straight swap. I think was that Evangelosaurus, so it's forward on for midfielder. So Jesse Spang going to the point of the Saints attack. Connor Quilligan going to more of an attacking midfield role, which is where he can do a lot of damage from that kind of role. Connor Quilligan. St George FC free kick. By the way, shout out to the data scout, that's what we'll call them, who's definitely not behind us in the technical area, I think, unless they're on the scaffold, on the lower level of the scaffold. Maybe if they're on the opposite side of the technical area and getting these subs right. Well done to you. Danaskos swings it in. Aidan O'Shea was the closest to it. Now McAllister. Mole back to McAllister. And here's Bailey Callahan. He's got the jump on Thomas Brown. There is decent support. He's got 3 of his brothers heading into the middle. Brown blocks the cross. And then standing foot just went for Callahan. That cross was never going to reach one of his teammates in Sky Blue. Peter Grozos. Back to Malfara. My stream keeps buffering. No. Diagonal to Danaskos. He'll be pretty much a left winger in these closing stages, you think. Aidan O'Shea back to Danaskos. He'll keep that in. Digs it out. It's over Quilligan. Or not quite. And then the scissor kick from Grozos. Enough Sky Blue in the way. They hold on. Now McAllister's the target. Of course, McAllister's on a hat trick, but that's not going to get anywhere near him. Oh, the stream is buffering. Something for a sneaky replay using the fact that the stream's delayed by 20 to 30 seconds, but that's not going to, I don't think that's going to happen for me this evening. Sydney FC will be happy to have the ball in this area, or for St George FC to have the ball in this area of the field. But they've got to be careful not to invite too much pressure. Quilligan swings it in. Safe hands from Zavadinos. Strong header from St George FC. I think that play is okay. Didn't fall too awkwardly. Jesse Spang wins the throw. Brown. Malfara. 1-2. I think with O'Shea. Rodic. Patience, the order of the day. It's not much space. You've got to move the defenders around and wait for your moment. Look at the compression with everyone except Daniel Axford in the Sydney FC half of the field. So it's like a scaled-up futsal game. And they'll need a futsal-esque level of patience, the Saints. It's lift lobbed in, and the header caught by Zavadinos. This string of saves and this level of reliability we've seen from Alexander Zavadinos, just like watching Hills United goalkeeper Sarah Easthope, who played exactly once for Sydney FC, by the way. And Sarah, a large part of the reason why the women of the Hills, they're top of the League One women's table, and with by far the stingiest defence and the most clean sheets. I'll be calling a game with Sarah Easthope next weekend. Lots of things are going to happen in that stream. And Justin Davies will be beside me to witness it. As there's Middleton. Work back to Williams. Now Blake Bolwell. And Ayuk Mo. Mo wins the free kick. That'll just allow Sydney FC to manage things and run the clock down a little bit more. Zabadinos going long. And, it almost dropped for the Sky Blues, but it bounces into Daniel Axford's gloves. A little bit of a high press, but now Sky Blues retreat. Continue to pose that same challenge to the Saints. It's the privilege of being in front. Sydney FC have earned this position. What do the Saints have? Quilligan digs one out towards Spang. Spang is beaten to the punch just by Tyler Williams. The way Sydney FC are lining up will be familiar to Formula One fans. You know why? Because there's a Williams at the back. Another one of those jokes. If one person watching it gets this, then I'll be very pleased with myself. I'm just thinking of other players I can swing into Formula One references. The RPL Leichhardt pair of Rory Jordan and Jack Stewart. If you watched a lot of Formula One in the 90s, I'll think about it. It's a shame Pedro Ferrari doesn't play in the league anymore. That was... I only got to call one... I only got to call Pedro Ferrari once, the St. George FC right back. I also love that they uploaded his full name into dribble, Pedro Ferrari Akanjo da Silva. And now Kasawaya beat one, and then fouled the second. For Sydney FC, this clock, or the scoreboards on this side of the ground, we can't see, but spectators will be looking at. If you're of a Sydney FC persuasion, it'll feel like it's moving in slow motion. Sito giving the shouts. I'm glad I don't have to think of the 3-2-1s. I'm glad that's your job, Justin. So I always forget when I'm calling a women's game. When it's mine, it was just like, and then the last time I did, oh, what a shock! I gave 3 points to Ashley Crofts. What are the odds? And then I gave 3 points. Oh, St. George FC free kick. And then I gave 2 points to the Janara Gattuso of NPL New South Wales, Estelle Fragale. I was like, what a shock. So Zabadinos opted for 2 in the wall. Eric Saba will mark out the 10 yards. Peter Grozos. Now, angle doesn't really favour the left footer as he go direct, which would require some strike to beat Zabadinos from this distance and with the game he's having. Does Grossos aim for one of his very tall teammates? Jesse Spang adding even more height for these situations. It's flat, and it goes through to Zabadinos. I see the young man has a little bit to learn about goalkeeping. Leading by a goal in this situation, why didn't you just fall slowly to the synthetic turf? That's what Sarah Easthope would have done. Also, possibly one of the best exponents of falling slowly to the ground with the teams leading by a goal to nil. Philippines Women's International, Olivia McDaniel, who when the Philippines beat New Zealand 1-0 in the Women's World Cup last year, so many catches falling slowly to the turf, making the entire nation of New Zealand angry. Yes. And I haven't seen someone of Filipino descent frustrate that many people since the last time I did commentary, actually. Quilligan. Was that a nutmeg pass? Anyway, Peter Grozos. That's blocked. Now Aikmo wants the ball and he will not get it because Sito steps forward. Now, work left and the cross into the middle. And touch off Kalasic, but it does not go out for a corner. Here's Noah Matthew. That will be a throw-in. 90th minute. Justin Davies telling me looks like a minimum of 4 minutes time added on to be signaled by Blake Sanchez Cruz. It could be 5. Right-footed cross from Danaskos is the touch, and Malfara shoots. Great block. And close down the angle. Lachlan Middleton closed down the angle like a keeper. He's quite a large young man, so Lachlan Middleton. Or was that Dylan Rose? It's one of them. They're both quite tall, but yeah, I think it was Dylan Rose, but yeah, he did give that Malfara shot no chance of ending up in the back of the net. 4 minutes of timeout? I still don't know. Blake Sanchez partially obscuring the substitution board. Quilligan, head up, as always. Just like every good futsal player. Now Grozos. Another player with a futsal background, by the way, to Malfara. Flat cross, and the overhead, attempted overhead from Spang goes wide. And Zavardinos is not going to retrieve the ball. He's going to get a drink. And he's played well, so it's a drink that the young man certainly earns. Zavardinos then somehow lets the ball roll into the goal. And Eric Saba has had enough of these antics. I mean, but obviously you can tell by the sound of my voice I haven't, but Eric Saba's the referee. Yeah, 4 minutes of time added on, a minimum, of which we've already had 23 seconds, largely because of Alexander Zavardinos moving in slow motion. But the goal kick has been taken. Middleton. Flick from Callahan. Now will this break from McAllister? Axford's off his line. That's an easy one. And definitely kitchen sink time for St. George FC. Speaking of optimistic shouts, somebody, at least one person wanted a back pass. Oh my goodness. That's O'Shea working it backwards to Cito. Danaskos with a strong run. Spang. Danaskos out wide. Cross blocked by Mole. If you're a fan of keepers going off for set pieces, this might be the time to see such a thing. First, St. George have to win one. Across to Rodic. Justin Davies making his leave to get quotes from the two coaches. Great header from Kalisic. And McAllister holds it up. Kasawaya going early. Now, that's it's going to be a St. George FC free kick. McAllister providing one of the more straightforward decisions to referee Eric Saba. He's had a good game. Tonight's referee Eric Saba. Good to see there's at least one Eric S out there making good decisions. And it's played out by Blake Bolwell. A strong defending from the right back whose first name and last name start with the same letter. Haven't seen that since the last time I saw Tori Tunith play for the Sydney FC women's team. Up into the middle, away, I think by Williams. Malfara keeping it alive, back to the keeper. Zavardinos with the clearance first time, slightly off balance. Kasawaya can't use the chest to reel it in. Malfara rides the challenge. There's not much time left. It's a decent cross to the far post. Still up for grabs. Dylan Rose. The flick. Lachlan Middleton sends it to temporary safety, but only temporary. Grozos. Cross blocked by Kasawaya. And McAllister miscued the clearance, but it worked out as a pass. And Kasawaya charging down the left-hand side. How much ambition does he have? Cuts inside Rodic. Could be a big opportunity for a third. Kasawaya shoots, and it's saved. Now the Sky Blues have to get back. 3.5 minutes of time added on by my stopwatch. Danaskos rides the challenge. Continues the run. Here's Jesse Spang. Spang. Centre halfway. Jaden Cito. It's pretty much now or never, you think. So into the mixer it goes. Kasawaya with the header. Now Rodic. And Rodic. Oh, sorry, mate. Grozos has given away the free kick. And a glance at the watch from Eric Saba, followed by the full-time whistle. It's Sydney FC's first win since round 5. They defeated St. George FC by 2-1, and Mateus McAllister is the hero with his match-winning double. St. George FC opened the scoring in the 7th minute through their captain Troy Danaskos, but the response was swift, and it was deadly from McAllister, who scored the first of his 2 for the evening 90 seconds later. McAllister also came up with the winner in the second half, obviously, attacking a corner with a nice far post run and finishing from close range. So that's how we got to the full-time score of Sydney FC 2, St. George FC 1. We hope you stick around on the Football New South Wales YouTube page and watch more action over the long weekend. Firstly, the men's games tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Sutherland versus Blacktown. And at 5:30 p.m, Spirit versus Marconi, called by Will Tagotsis. At 7 p.m, Hills versus Central Coast, called by Dominic Crenidi. And at 7:15 p.m, St George City versus Wollongong Wolves. Then the two men's games on Sunday are both at 3 p.m. on this ground, Rockdale versus Western Sydney Wanderers. And there's also 3 p.m. Sunday, Sydney United 58 versus Sydney Olympic. That's also called by Dominic Crenidi, because that man always ends up at Adensa Park somehow. Also, one more shout out to the women's games coming out this weekend. Tomorrow at 3 p.m, I'll be on the mic from the Arctic Circle to call Spirit versus Spartans. There's 5 women's games in NPL on Sunday. At 4 p.m, I'm calling Northern Tigers versus Sydney Olympic. 4:30 p.m. Sunday, RPL Leichhardt versus Gladesville Ravens, called by Nicola Posder. 4:45 p.m. Sunday, Football New South Wales Institute versus Bulls FC Academy. 2 games, 5 p.m. on Sunday, Sydney Uni versus Macarthur Rams, called by Will Constantinidis. And Emerging Jets versus University of New South Wales, called by Ashley Borg. Then Monday, 5:15 p.m, Illawarra Stingrays versus Manly United. Of course, shout out to the League One Women's Match of the Round, Sunday, 3 p.m. Marconi Stallions versus South Coast Flame, called by the Professor, Melissa Muscat. But this is Eric Subihano signing off for Football New South Wales. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the NPL Men's New South Wales competition, and we hope to see you soon. Wishing you plenty of good vibes, great coffee, sick tattoos, razzlers, and young talents that follow in their father's footsteps. See you next time.